Hi, my name is Melanie Gunn, and I am a Suleiman candidate. And I'm going to share a little bit about my vision and what my project is for Suleiman in general. So originally, I wanted to be a teacher because I felt that it was really important for students to be confident in themselves. So the whole vision of my classroom is that students are scholars, partners, leaders, advocates, and visionaries. So the way that I wanted to do that in my project is I wanted my students to not just know what it means to be a scholar, partner, advocate, leader, and visionary, but to know how to take that and make it extend outside of the classroom. My biggest concern is that my students, who most of them I have had for 2 years now, will build these awesome and amazing skills that they have generated in my classroom, but once they get to kindergarten, then they will all go out the window. So part of what I wanted to do was make sure that my students were very confident in how they can act as a scholar, partner, leader, advocate, and visionary.
Promise to the main office.
I also wanted to take that one step further and make sure that my parents were also informed and knew how to operate as scholars, leaders, partners, advocates, and visionaries for their children. One way that I did this is I had a parent create a parent cohort. So they actually on February 16th are going to have their first meeting, and they are going to discuss schooling options for their children, for what their needs are with their children, and also just parent talk, what it's like to have a child in preschool. What are some of the needs that go along with having a child in preschool? What are some of the difficulties as a parent? So all of these things will happen as a cohort outside of myself. There is a parent that is willing to generate this and is taking it on. So that is what is going on for my project. My charge for my students are that they take those values, norms, and words and internalize them. And I incorporate these values, I incorporated them into my teaching last year, and I experienced great success. So I thought, what if I could take what my students have learned last year and push it even further and see how much they've grown? And I noticed that last year they took my vision words and made them their own. So for example, scholars, we talked about how scholars learn a lot, and they said that we pay attention every day. So that's what it means to them, what it means to be a scholar. Leaders do the right, I said you do things first, and my students came up with you do the right thing the first time. Advocates, I talked about you speak up for yourselves, and they said, well, what if you speak up for your friends? Can you do that too? And I said, sure. So now advocates, we speak up for ourselves and our friends. Leaders, I talked about that. Partners, we work together. And so we talked about working together as a family, working together with our friends, working together with our teacher, working together with our future teacher. We talked about all of those things that we can do to be a partner and what that looks like, what it looks like in a preschool classroom. For example, it looks like to be a partner in a classroom to share your toys. That is a huge deal in preschool. So we share our toys with one another. Also, we talked about what it means to be visionaries. So visionary, I thought, that is such a hard thing to teach preschool. How am I going to teach them how to be a visionary? But then we talked about you work hard to be something. So all of my students are working hard to be something, whether it means to be a ballerina, whether it means they want to be a football player, or they want to be a teacher, or one of my students say she wants to be a police teacher. They work hard so that they can be that, and they know that you have to go to college and you have to work really hard in order to accomplish those things. So my students are really working towards that. And that piece comes along with the parents and with the relationships. So I work hard with my parents and bring them into what we are learning via emails, text messages, letters that I send home with their homework, talking to them every day on the phone. or in person. And so building that relationships with the parents is a huge piece for me. So with those amazing words and definitions that we came up with in preschool, I also have the parent support and the consistency that goes across the board. And I think that has what has really, really pushed my students. On an academic level, my students are operating 1 to 2 grade levels above where they should be. I have students reading at a level D or higher. I have about 5 students at that level, which is a third of my class. 5 of my students are reading level A books. Level A means that you're just at the beginning of kindergarten. Level D means that you are about kindergarten month 7, so you'd be in your 7th month of kindergarten with reading. And I have some children that are just learning their letters, and that is totally appropriate. Also this year, I implemented a handwriting without tears program, and so my students are writing, and it's so exciting to see them with their writing. They like to write just for fun. They like to write on whiteboards. They make lists. They decide that they're reporters and make up reports and pretend that they're scribbling on the paper. And some of them actually write. Some of them choose to write all of their words that are on our word wall. And some of them choose to find sentences around the room and write. And so it's really exciting that they're bringing that into their lives. So what some of the samples that I'm going to show you for my vision, one of them is a Martin Luther King lesson that I did. This month, we have been taking African American achievers and breaking them down and showing that these people are amazing, and we talk about how they are scholars, partners, leaders, advocates, and visionaries. So in this unit that you are going to see, you have a little bit of an insight into what we do when talking about these people. We talk about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. all through the school year and how he was impactful. We talk about Ruby Bridges. We talk about Rosa Parks. We talk about Harriet Tubman. And so they have real life examples of how African Americans made a difference in their world and how it made them better. So they have an experience of how a real person acted as a scholar, advocate, leader, partner, and visionary, how they acted and how they turned out really well so that they could help the environment. Another piece that I brought in is community service. So on Martin Luther King Day, we went to a nursing home, and I took my dog Sophie, who is a therapy dog, and we went and visited the elderly. And so they practiced introducing themselves, they practiced talking to the elderly, and they drew pictures for them, and they just really enjoyed walking around and seeing how everybody was. And we talk about the importance of community service. So as my parent cohort, as part of their meeting, they're also going to be talking about ways to incorporate community service into our curriculum. Also, let's see. I talked about reading. Math, my students are doing amazing. So the preschool standard is that students will be able to count up to 10. My students, most of them can count to 100. On our 100th day of school, we had a huge celebration commending their work, and my students can also count by 10s and count by 5s. Part of the work that I've done to increase their rigor academically is I created small groups where I work with children in groups of 5 every single day for about 10 to 15 minutes. And we work on specific targeted skills. Usually about 3 days I work on reading and 2 days I work on math. And reading with their targeted skills, I talked to the first grade teacher, who is also my mentor, and she talked to me about what she would like to see a kindergartner know and be able to do. And I actually have one student that goes up to her for reading. So that was really helpful. And then she gave me some math techniques to use for them as well. So we've done a bunch of different games in order to have them understand number sense. Students are doing addition without them even really realizing it. Students are counting, they're doing patterns, they're just doing amazing work. And the way that we do that is we make it fun, and we explain what the skill is that they need to learn and how it is important for kindergartners, that kindergartners know this or first graders know this, and so how exciting would it be for them to be able to know it as well. So that's my vision, and that's my project for Suleiman. So I hope that you will consider me as a candidate, and make sure to watch that Dr. Martin Luther King video. And also there's a partner video and a parent interview and a student interview that I think will be really helpful in reflecting upon the work that I have done in room 105. See you later.